Yeah, it wasn't my decision. Everybody thinks I picked France, but I didn't pick France. I would love to shoot Walking Dead here, but you guys would be so mad because you're so clean here and we destroy everything. Oh yeah. It was a big cast at that point, big crew. I remember our final scene with the actors was at night, and I remember them handing me the mic and saying goodbye to everybody. And it was sort of hitting me that it was real. I said a few words, I might have cried a little bit. I handed the mic to our focus puller, Deej, and he cried a lot. It was sad. I don't know, I ride a motorcycle through the country to get to set every day. It's how I get my mind right for what I'm gonna do during the day. Then it's how I let go of things at the end of the day. And I remember my last drive all through the backwoods. Certain ways you can get there and get there faster, but I take the long way because it's so pretty. And I remember doing that ride and then taking that ride back home with the sun coming up. And it kind of hit me during that ride that I'll never be taking this road again. And that, I don't know, it just sort of hit me. It was super emotional. It was, Melissa and I knew we were going on to do another show, but I don't know, it was like just looking around at everybody, and it was such a big part of my life, shooting down in Georgia. So, I don't know, it was sad, I was happy with what we accomplished. We obviously did something really great, but it was sad at the same time. I hated to leave it, to be honest. Yeah, it wasn't my decision. Everybody thinks I picked France, but I didn't pick France. Scott Gimple called me and Melissa and said, hey, we have an idea for a spin-off show. It's gonna be in France. And we were like, wow, that's interesting. How are those two people going to get along in France? And what will that look like? And who will they meet there? And Melissa and I came up with, we were always talking about doing a spin-off show, but we were coming up with music, playlists and ideas for a spinoff. It was kind of a travel show, but I remember Angela Kang coming to me I think it was the last shot of season 10. She said, how do you see this show ending? And I said, everybody dies. Everything's on fire. And I'm like, Carol, get on the bike. And we can't go home because there's nothing left. And we watch everybody sort of die in slow motion, and so we just take off and we see who's left out there in the world. And we thought about it, and she and I would have all these conversations about it. But when they pitched the show in France, we were like, wow, that's super fascinating. But they pitched us the show in France while the other show was still happening. And so we thought, she and I thought that we would go away, have an adventure, and come back to the group. A couple of days later, a couple of weeks maybe, they said this show was going to end. We really put our heads together trying to think of what to do. We're both producers on it. We both have a lot of input on it. It's turning out to be this show that Europe has sort of embraced as their own show, which was the point. We didn't want to make an American tourist version of our show in another country. We wanted it to feel like it was their show, because we always talked about that show as being, it's our show, and the state of Georgia and the heat and the sweat and the people in the woods were all part of the show. So we wanted to have that same sort of feeling in France, and we did it. It's beautiful. The most memorable place, I'm gonna have to say Mont Saint-Michel. Mont Saint-Michel was so beautiful, and the way that it's set up, and there's so much history there. But we started in Martigues, and then we went to Marseille, then we went to Arles, and then we trekked our way through Paris, and then we end up in Mont Saint-Michel. It's surrounded by water. And before there was a bridge, the only way you could get to that castle was on low tide. And then if you were trapped out there, the tide would come in and just like waves. It was super dangerous, which is why that place has such a history for the things that it was used for. I stayed the night in there. So the crew would all stay in hotels down the road, but I was the only one who would stay in the castle because I was like, of course I'm gonna stay in the castle. I'm gonna stay at the hotel. You could feel the energy there. You could feel the ghosts of everything that's happened there. It was such a magical place. At night, the noises and the birds and the wind, it was so romantic in so many different ways. It's a huge character in the show as well, as is Paris, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, we did, but we have, our showrunner, David Zabel, really came up with new ways to use walkers. And like a virus, it kind of mutates in different ways in different parts of the world, depending on the weather or what's there already. There's a storyline which you find out in season 2 what's happening, you know, that explains that a little bit better. It's wild to see the performers in France because they're dancers. So in America, our walkers were, they're bending over backwards and crawling up walls and parkour weirdness. Like they're all dancers in France playing these parts, and they bend in weird ways. So the first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But it's different. I didn't want to make the same show I'd been making in Georgia for just another year in a different location. I wanted new writers and new costumes and, you know, it was an opportunity to do something fresh. And that's what we did. And it's great. When you're on a show that long, the machine gets so big, you know. I wanted to step away from the machine and go back to some sort of an independent film sort of feeling. And it's very artistic. It's the way it's shot's very beautiful. There's a lot of elements to it that really heighten the show. That finale back in Georgia of Carol and Daryl sitting on the bench talking right before he leaves, that dialogue is so spot on. Like, we could have just ad-libbed that dialogue. It was so realistic to what was really happening. And she couldn't make it for season 1. She had some things she had to take care of. And so I always knew she was coming. Everybody knew she was coming. She was part of it before the first script was ever written. You know, there was a lot of controversy on whether she was coming and a lot of chatter on the internet, but it was all not true. She was always part of the show. Before the first word was written, she was coming. That scene I remember shooting on the finale of Walking Dead in America, and it was so tearful. You know, we were saying goodbye to the cast and the crew in Georgia, and it was foreshadowing sort of where we were headed. The dialogue is, well, it's not like I'm never gonna see you, you know, stuff like that. But it was a tearful day on set. Like, everybody behind the camera was bawling. You know, it was very real. Those two characters are very close in a way that you can only have two actors work like that who have spent that much time together. It's very unique. I can meet you and we can have a friendship on camera, but in real time, I just met you. She and I go way back, and we finish each other's sentences, so we know what each other are thinking. There's a dynamic there that's been earned over 15 years of working together, that when you're in scenes together, it heightens the awareness of the room. It's all very real. It's a real honor to get to work with her on such a tight set, you know, in such close proximity, with dialogue, with storyline, and she's a producer, I'm a producer. We know the things that work. We really stick the screws in and twist them. It's a very unique relationship. I haven't. I saw the premiere. I was working. I only kind of watch South Park when I'm working, to be honest. I saw the first one. It was great. It's different. Our show is much different than that. I saw I visited him on set in New Jersey. We sat in my car and we talked about the show for like 3 hours, you know. So I know what happens to a certain extent. And then I saw they had the premiere of it in LA when I was in LA doing something else. I think I was doing Hideo Kojima stuff in LA. And so I went to the premiere, but that's it. Yeah, it was great. That was like my finest hour. That was fantastic. Then he came to shoot the coda for the other show. And we were having COVID tests, and we had doctors everywhere, and everybody had masks on. I had made a giant Q-tip, and there was a trailer where we would go in and do, you know, testing for COVID and stuff. And I had a poster made of how to use the Q-tip, which wasn't in the nose. I made up another way of using a giant Q-tip, which I'm sure you can figure out. And I made a poster, and I was going to put Andy in the trailer and put up cameras everywhere and have the doctor come and hand him a giant Q-tip, and he'd be sitting and he'd go, oh yeah, just, you know how to do it, and him to take this huge Q-tip and then see the poster and be like, oh, great, and just film him what he was going to do. But he couldn't show up for set that week. Something happened back in England and he couldn't make it, so I was like, man. But it was a really good prank. Yeah. He filmed this, yeah. I mean, he visited this in Paris. I have to say that the time that he visited, it was a shot of me driving a car from here to there. And I was like, oh, sorry, it's like not the best day to, there wasn't anything insane happening. It was just me. I mean, he was there for like an hour, but it was me driving from here to there. Just the car going by. I was like, you know, it wasn't a huge day where like Paris is on fire or anything like that. It was just a car going by. I was like, it'd be great. Oh, that'd be so cool. I'm very invested in this show right now. I want this show to go in a way, it's already doing it. It's happening how we envisioned it happening, which was a very big swing. The way it looks, the way it sounds, the way it smells, the way it feels is very unique. It's you have all the Walking Dead, you have all the different spin-offs and shows. This was us alone in France making sort of like an independent art film with a lot of heart, a lot of courage, and we've kept it that way. We've sort of kept it in this bubble, and we want to continue to keep it that way. It's very unique. When AMC saw the show, they're like, oh, because it's different. It was a big swing, and it's working. You know? So I'm very protective of this show. I don't know anything about that other than I know Scott Gimple wants it to happen. So he's talking about it, trying to make it happen. I wish I knew. I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, I would love to have a world where all the characters from the past show up. I'd love to see Shane and Merle and all these different characters show up. That would be cool. Yeah, just to see maybe some sort of alternate universe. I would love to shoot Walking Dead here. I would love it. But you guys would be so mad because you're so clean here and we destroy everything. Like even the people in Paris, they were like, oh my God, what have you destroyed? We'll clean it up, we'll clean it up. Yeah, it sounds fun, but then we burn it all to the ground. So. Maybe Kyoto. That would be cool. Or Tokyo. Tokyo would be great too. Hello, konnichiwa, it's Norman. I hope you enjoy season 1 of Daryl Dixon and also season 2 of Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. Please watch, and arigatou gozaimashita.